Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Couch today I'm going to be reviewing this, Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. This was part of the journey to the Force Awakens, and it's all about the tale of two star-crossed lovers from the planet Jalukan, Thane Kyrell and Ciena. So basically, Ciena, she's one of the first wave settlers on the planet Jalukan, and Thane is one of the second wave of settlers on the planet. So first wavers, they live in the valleys, very traditional, conservative, honour is everything. Second wavers, they live more on the mountaintops, a bit more flash and gaudy and more like city types. So, and never the twain shall meet really. But the two of them become friends when they're kids, when the planet is annexed by the Empire and Grand Moff Tarkin turns up to essentially tell them, now we rule you. The two of them want to see the ships and the shuttles. That's what they're excited in. So they manage to sneak into one of the shuttles where they're discovered by Grand Moff Tarkin. But because of their enthusiasm for the thing and everything, he finds that it's quite interesting. And he says to the guy that he's with, see, sometimes the snare works as well as the trap. You know, it's very interesting. So like they're being turned into Imperial citizens. And they end up going to the Royal Academy on Coruscant to complete their training to become Imperial officers. Now, what this book is great at is stitching the story into the original trilogy. It is fantastic. So, at the beginning of A New Hope, the Tantive going up into the docking bay of the Star Destroyer, Ciena is there. You know when you see them firing on, or not firing on, the droid's escape pod? Well, just before that, she has fired on one that had 4 people in it. And she is like the next one over in that scene. You know, you just don't see it on the screen. And Thane is assigned to the Death Star. He is in fact a member of, because he's an Imperial pilot, he's assigned as part of the team that goes to Dantooine to look for the rebel base there. And he is there when the Death Star is destroyed. Ciena is one of the ones who essentially has to rescue Lord Vader. She's dispatched with one of her colleagues in a cargo shuttle to find him and to bring him back. And he essentially says, you two stay in the hold, I will fly this ship. And they're talking to each other, saying, that was Lord Vader. He could be monitoring us right now. So they spend the rest of the trip in silence. So it then obviously moves on. Oh, the destruction of Alderaan has already happened. And Ciena is there on the bridge and she sees it. It's fantastic. And then because of that and things happening on their homeworld, Thane essentially goes AWOL. Not intending to join the Resistance, but he just doesn't want to be part of the Empire anymore. Ciena, she can't do that because she's given her oath to serve the Empire, and in her culture and tradition, you can't break your oath, you know? It doesn't matter that they've broken faith with you, you still have to keep faith with them. So the next time they essentially meet up is during the Battle of Hoth, where he's flying a snowspeeder, and when she's reviewing battle footage afterwards, because she's on the Executor, she sees this move that he does. It's the one that they did when they were flying together as kids on Jalukan, and takes down a walker, so she knows that he's still alive. Now, just before that, however, she had been promoted by Admiral Ozzel, and that was about the last thing that he did before he got throttled by Lord Vader. And it is, in fact, Admiral Piet who tells her that he is now in charge. Yes, it's very, very funny. And then she is going to Bespin with Lord Vader, you know, to capture these rebels. And Thane is wandering about the galaxy, does a bit of smuggling for a time, and does eventually meet up with the rebellion. But yes, you see things like Ciena wondering, because they're tracking the Millennium Falcon from the Executor. She's part of the crew there. Lord Vader asked for her personally to be part of his crew, although she wonders whether or not that's so he can keep an eye on her, because she saw him at a moment of possible weakness. In fact, she's never said anything. It's probably why she's still alive. But they're wondering, why is this ship diving towards the bottom of Cloud City? What's there? Obviously, it's to get Luke Skywalker. And then they're trying to, this is on the Empire side, trying to lure the rebels into a trap. And by massing an enormous fleet. And Ciena realizes, oh my god, the Emperor must be here. And she sees the Emperor. Like, say, for instance, on the second Death Star, in fact, it's on the second Death Star, the processional scene where he arrives. She's in that crowd somewhere, along with loads of other admirals and commanders and all that sort of thing. It was absolutely fantastic. And it goes then forward after the defeat of Endor to say the Battle of Jakku. Empire's fallen apart. She desperately wants to get out of the Empire, but she's stuck with it. So when it's clear the Empire's lost, she tells the crew to abandon the ship, and she's going to crash her Star Destroyer into Jakku, and it is the one that Rey is exploring at the beginning of The Force Awakens. There's even mention of a walker that gets toppled over sideways, so I assume that is indeed Rey's AT-AT, which I believe is also referenced in Empire's End, but I'm not sure. So basically, Thane, because they want to commandeer Star Destroyers, so they try and commandeer hers, and then she realises can't let it fall into their hands. I will sacrifice myself to destroy the ship. Everybody gets off. Thane manages to get away to the bridge. They have their confrontation, saying, because they love each other, and they met up on Jalukan even when she knew that he was on the run, and she didn't turn him in. And he eventually has to stun her to get her off the ship, and that kind of like absolves her of the responsibility. Otherwise, she would have just killed herself, basically. It ends the book with her essentially in custody, but he's saying, look, you served with honour, you know, you didn't take part in any of those really bad atrocities. Give them some information, you'll walk out of here. And it's kind of left there, although it was very much the impression that her honour would stop her from essentially spilling the beans on the Empire's activities, but maybe she does. But it was an absolutely fantastic book. It's probably the best of the new canon, I think. It's right up there at the top. The only ones that would come close for me would be, say, Catalyst, the novelisation of Rogue One, because of all those extra bits of information that was inserted periodically throughout the text, and Before the Awakening, which I really, really enjoyed, and was the first piece, really, of the new canon with the new characters. But that is just my review of Lost Stars. I can't recommend it highly enough. I've seen this book on and off for a year or two, and I've kept meaning to get it, and I never did, and I really wish I had gotten it the first time I ever saw it. It is a terrific read, and I absolutely encourage you to pick it up. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for upcoming topic you'd like to see discussed. I like the video.